Greetings from Woodturning with Dick. I have these lovely little pink ivory spindle blanks picked up at a turning store. They're all slightly different sizes. I'm not much of a spindle turner, not much of a fan. Love my bowls, love my wall art, as you know from other videos. But it bore the idea. Now, simplest way to show you is with this overly sized piece of rippled sycamore. I'm only going to use a small portion of this to make a wall hanging piece. Now, here's the idea. I use 3 pieces of pink ivory in the dead center, gap between, a bowl each end, to end up looking a bit like a stereo, but rather than calling it a stereo, I think Art Deco might be more appropriate. These are only 1 inch thick, 1.5 inches tops, a bit too small, so I specifically went and bought some more. Slightly chunkier pink ivory. Lovely pinks in that, look at that. Now, idea is the same. I just need to measure it to the sizes that I want. I'm going to use a piece of Bog Oak as well in combination with this rippled sycamore because of how nicely the transition of colour between the black and almost white wood was on the Galaxy piece that I did. So I've got a plank of, oh my lord, I've got a plank of Bog Oak that's just about big enough. I'm not going to use all of that. I'm only going to use about that much, but I do need to thin it down to a plank. So I've got to take all this top surface off. My idea is to turn a bowl in this section here, a bowl in this section here, cut it in half, swap over the pieces of wood, swap over the sections here as well, have a gap down the middle, and there's art. A bit more measuring up, cutting up. I think I've decided that I'm going to cut the Bog Oak up and cut the rippled sycamore up, join it together now, turn the bowl and then cut it apart, because that way, even if there's a couple of mil difference between the bowls, they'll still be uniform. Now I have all the ingredients of my piece. Lovely. Trim that down, square everything up on the table saw, glue half of that to half of that part there, glue half of that to that part there, turn my bowls, fix it all together. Quick side note, I'm not getting rid of my dad's old workmate because it served him all his life and it's now served me most of my life. But he did make this, but it is getting a bit brittle. So, thought I'd treat myself and I bought myself a nice bit of hardwood plywood. Smooth down those sides. Then I've got myself a perfectly flat work surface, which is going to be great for doing this piece. So I took the middle out of the rippled sycamore because that was quite open grain here. This is nice closed grain, and the ripple is nicer at the sides. So that can be put in the spares pile. All of this has been through the planer to make it all exactly the same height. Now, so the plan is to have about that much of a gap. It's all coming together nicely. Next thing to do is to trim these up nice and square, fuse those together, possibly the other way around, and cut a section this long off the end of each of these pieces, because that's going to go in the in-between. turn a bowl in each of these, cut them in half again, and then separate it out. And by then, everything should match up nicely. Okay, that's everything trimmed to size. It's all a bit dusty. I'll cut a lump off each side. I'll show you what I'm doing with that in a second. I am going to dowel all of these, give it some extra strength, because those bits there, they're pretty heavy wood. Whilst I trust the glue 100%, it'd be nice to have it a little bit of extra strength with a dowel going right through each piece. So this one going down the middle. A couple more in there. And my original intent was to do this. So there we go, that's pretty much it. Next job, glue these together, glues these together, and turn a bowl. How big do I want my bowl? Halfway down this piece of wood? Less than half. A couple of small bowls like that. All these decisions I have to make. I know. Start with this one because these cracks, that'll help me decide. I don't want to come up to that crack, and that crack comes down at that angle, so it needs to be a lot shorter than that, somewhere around there. That's kind of absolute maximum size bowl I can have. Yeah, it's going to look more and more like a stereo as we go on. Yeah, okay, right, so that's pretty much decided. There you go. Now I can call it in stereo. I don't know if you can see those semicircles, but I think that's going to look pretty good. Be a lot going on with the wood, with the ripples in here, the bog oak, lovely in black and dark, that's separated. It's a busy piece. Gilding colour, I'm hoping Lenore will opt for the champagne gold because that goes really nicely. It went really nicely on that galaxy piece that I did. And no, I'm not tempted to put resin through here. No, I'm not tempted to put a bowl in here either. I think 2 bowls that side. That's the original idea and I'm sticking with it. All glued and clamped together last night. Don't know if you can see this here, but I put some dowels just through about 80% of the piece. Just drilled down with a 10mm bit, turned down a 10mm dowel out of bog oak and shoved it in there with some glue just to help stabilise that crack, because that was quite a loose piece of wood on top and that has really made it quite solid. Well, hope so. Let's have a look. Yeah, no flex there whatsoever. And once that's doweled into the pink ivory, that'll be lovely and solid. Oh, didn't want that on there. Oh, there we go. Just a little bit of residue glue. Didn't put a drill depth, and I really want that on this. Want to make sure I don't go down too deep and come through the bottom. Quite important, given that these are all measured to length. I just want to make sure it's bang on correct. So I'll do this one and do the other one at the same time. That crack's going to look quite nice with the gilding all around it. Dust out of there. Ooh, shame that is going to be covered up. Look at that shimmer. That's rather pretty. But gilding is what we do. Right, now I've just got to do the other one exactly the same size. Granted, it doesn't have to be exactly the same size. I'll play it really quick. Oh, here you go. I'm turning it now. I'll do it real quick. Sand the cedar on the second one. Then we'll get it apart, get it cut up and put into place. So I've separated the chuck grip, run that through the planer, just so it takes it off, so the level stays fairly similar. There's my half bowl, there's my other half bowl. Now, this bit here is a replacement for the one that I destroyed in the planer, like a fool. You can see here the bite marks, and it kind of blew it apart. So I've replaced it with that one. I found a piece of bog oak with very similar grain, the direction, the cracks, everything. It's not too far off in terms of colour and everything else, and I think it'd be barely noticeable to the finished piece, but just pointing it out. So let's get rid of that and bin that. A nice light piece of pink ivory there. This one's slightly darker. And then an even darker piece. So we've got a graduation of colour. And then my other two. Forget those white bits you can see there, they're just random bits of sawdust that'll be cleaned out later. But there it is. It's, as far as you can see, it's finished. There's a heck of a lot more work for me to do. I'm going to sand these down, get rid of any saw marks. I've got to sand the ends, sand all these insides down here. Never had one of these before, but I bought myself a doweling jig. Handy bit of kit. I've practiced with it, took some sample pieces. Everything lines up really quite neatly within like point something of a millimetre. So that would be ideal. So I'm basically going to dowel across here, all the way through these, and then glue and clamp the lot together. Once that's done, I can finish the front face and the back. For this one, because there's so many splits in it, bowls this side. Not that it matters, because we're only going down half a dowel length. I'll line that up perfectly, completely flush with there. Then I've got my 2 holes for my dowels, 2 this side as well, 4 dowels. All the other ones I'm going to put just 2 in. Now all I've got to do is mimic that on the pink ivory that it's going onto. Just going to pre-drill everything now. Can't I just sell it like that? Some assembly required. I need a French cleat for the back. At the same time, it's going to help support these if I put a couple of screws in certain places. So I'm going to run that through the table saw, 45-degree angle, as you've seen on previous videos. So that's my French cleat sorted out. That's the same thickness as that, so it sits nice and square. Screws are into the end pieces here, as well as all of the pink ivory pieces. Nice good grip. Same at the top here. Gives it that extra bit of security for holding it all together. Going to give that a quick sander seal, and then I get to finish the face of it because I've already done the ends. Just a bit of wax needed on those. Oh, happy days. The shimmer. You can see it in the ripple sycamore here. And that extends into this smaller piece here. And the pink ivory is just glorious. So, should look pretty cool with those bowls gilded. We will see. And there she is, finished on the show wall. I think it works quite well. And while we're here, let's have a quick look at some other pieces that you've seen finished recently. Not these ones. That was one of my first videos. And there's the purple heart piece. Not a great light situation at the show, but it will do. That gives you an idea anyway.